Hey, what's up? How you doing? I'm in the process of planning a wedding. I got engaged back in November, and now I am doing all of the wedding planning stuff. I actually have been kind of started planning a wedding before I even got engaged, not gonna lie, but obviously, like the actual booking of things and planning of things, I have now done a good amount of. So the venue was actually one of the first things that I was researching and one of the first things that I picked. It was actually for sure the first thing that I booked because you can't do a whole lot without booking the venue first. So because of that whole process, it was pretty tedious, kind of a lot of stuff to think about and a lot of things to deal with when you're picking the venue, and it is the like starting point, kind of what you base everything off of. So I just sort of thought I would go over all of the things that I think it's important to think about and know while picking a venue as someone who just went through this entire process and am very happy with what ended up happening. So let's get started. And it's very exciting because I actually just bought my wedding dress today. I know I'm still about a year out, a little less than, but I went ahead and ordered it or bought it at David's Bridal. So I'm actually probably going to do a video as well on buying a wedding dress and like that experience and all of that. But not today. Today, we're doing the venue. So like I sort of alluded to, you're going to want to obviously pick the venue first or very close to first when it comes to the like order of things that you decide. I don't really think that there is a like set list of things that you need to be doing in a certain order. You can like find random timelines online of like, you need to do this far out from your wedding, and then 6 months out do this, and then 4 months out do this. Like, you can do that. You can use like the different wedding planning websites, and it will give you kind of like a general timetable. I don't really think that it matters too much, honestly. For me, I like to do everything as early as possible, so that way I, one, don't have to stress about it, and two, that way I know that I can get exactly who I want because they're not going to be booked for my date. So for me, I wanted to get the venue immediately, as soon as possible. We got engaged in November. I picked my venue in December, and I knew that I wanted to have a March wedding, or like I picked the time frame of when I wanted the wedding. I talked about it with my fiance and everything, and so we went into that knowing that we were going to be picking the venue about a year and 3 months before the actual date. That ended up working out. We actually picked our venue 2 days after we toured it. So we went and toured it, and then 2 days later came back, and the day we toured it was like a Monday. And then we found like all the dates that we wanted in March that we listed were free. Then we came back on Wednesday. The date that I had originally picked was already taken. So like I like getting things done early. So anyway, all that's to say is, first tip is sort of pick your venue as one of the first things and try to get that done as early as possible, so that way you can get the exact date that you want, especially if you have a specific time frame that you really care about. Next, it's one of the first things that you have to do when you start planning a wedding is of your budget. Obviously, I'm not going to go like crazy in depth with this because I feel like that could get pretty boring, like going over my whole budget and everything. For the wedding budget, the venue is one of the most expensive things. For some people, it might be the most expensive thing. So, you need to make your list and start to tally up all the expenses and sort of see how much money you have to work with. Weddings are crazy expensive. They can be cheaper depending on how you do it, but if you want to go for like a nicer venue, if you want to do it on a weekend, stuff like that, that's going to be a bit more expensive. Here's a tip for when you're making your budget. Don't just willy-nilly kind of scribble in stuff like, I want to spend $5,000 on my venue, and I want to spend $3,000 on the photographer, and I want to spend $2,000 on the dress. Like, don't just be throwing in number. Like, what I did, it took a lot of time. Like, wedding planning is a very time-consuming thing, and this did take a lot of time, but it is very helpful. It has guided me for every decision that I have made thus far. I make a list, an Excel sheet is what I did, of every single expense that's going to be happening. Like, I mean, you don't have to do like the headband for my headdress or my veil or whatever is going to be this much. Like, you can do wedding accessories, like that as a category, but just like make categories. Venue, photographer, if you want a videographer, your caterer, your cake, your flowers, decorations, everything, your dress, all of it. You can kind of put like what you're aiming to spend in your mind, but do not base picking your venues that you're going to tour off of that, go through and do a lot of extensive online research of how much venues are going to cost. Most of them have their prices listed online. Go through, find the ones that are appealing to you, and then see the price. See if they see sort of the range of prices and make your budget based off of that. But don't just do it for your venue. Do it for everything. That's why this is time consuming. Do it for your venue, then go to photographers and do the same. Then go to videographers, do the same. Go to dresses, do the same. For everything, so that you can kind of get a whole encompassing picture of what your budget is looking like. If the first thing you look up is venues, and the venues that you're wanting are in the range of like $6,000, and you put in your budget $6,000, but you only have $15,000 that you're working with, and then you keep going, and then you like go book your venue for $6,000, you are putting yourself in a tight spot for the rest of your planning. Okay, I'll talk about budget stuff more later, like how to make the most out of your venue budget-wise, but before we get into that, I kind of want to jump out of the budgetary talk for a second and talk about some stuff that's a bit more fun. Let's discuss things to look for when you are touring a venue. Obviously, you're looking for, is it pretty? Do you like it? Does it fit your aesthetic? That kind of stuff, of course. But beyond just that, what else should you be looking for? One thing that I think you should be paying attention to is, and this was, at least if it's important to you, this was important to me, how the entrance is going to be, the grand entrance, how the aisle is set up. For me, I'm not doing a first look. I feel very strongly about that. I do not want to do a first look. One thing that I really care about is that the first time my fiance, very soon to be at that point husband, sees me is when I am entering and walking down the aisle. I care about that. I want that moment. I don't want to do a first look. Because I care so much about that moment, that was something I was thinking a lot about when I was touring venues. So I toured actually 2 different locations, but 5 different venues, because one of the locations that I toured has 6 different venues, and then I toured at another location that just had 1. So I looked at 5 different venues, and that was one of the things that I was like, my eye was out for how is it going to look entering, how is it going to be a grand entrance when I first walk down the aisle, or is it not really going to be? For example, I will put a clip up on the screen. This is one of the places that I looked at. It's in Chattanooga, that's where I'm getting married, called Gardens of the Gorge. And it's an outdoor venue, very like in the woods, in the mountains, which was very pretty, but not what I ended up going with. And one of the deciding factors, not the main thing, but one of the things that I really did not like about this venue was there was no real grand entrance down the aisle. It was just sort of an area outside, like a patch of green grass. And then you just kind of, like, there's no real big grand entrance down the aisle. You just kind of come around the corner and then you're just walking down the aisle. There was no, like, doors open or something happens and you're walking down it. It was just kind of walk around a corner and then, like, hello, from behind a rock, here I am. I don't like that. If you don't care, that's not something to consider. But if you do care, especially if you're not doing a first look, that is really something to keep your eye on, at least if it matters to you. It might not matter to you. Another thing, what's their bridal suite look like? What does their groom's room look like? The groom's room matters a little bit less. The places that I actually went, that sounds mean. I don't mean any shade to the men, but, you know, they're not going to be spending hours upon hours getting ready, so it doesn't matter as much for them, whereas you will be spending hours and hours in your bridal suite. So for the place that I ended up picking, they had a separate, like, whole area for the dudes to hang out in that's called, like, the bow tie club or something, where they just go over and hang out, play pool, whatever. So that's great for them. And then the bridal suite is gorgeous. I'll show it on the screen. Absolutely stunning. There's a lot of natural light. They even have massage chairs, which is pretty dang cool. Might be a little bit stressed out the morning of your wedding, so that's a nice way to unwind. Great places for the ladies to look in the mirror and be able to, like, mess with their makeup, hair, jewelry, dress, whatever. And then a very large mirror for everyone to look at themselves in. There's just a lot of space. There was even a separate counter location, which is actually important for photography, like a little kitchen area to keep all the snacks and food that you're going to be eating before you need to eat. You're going to be in there for like 5 hours probably. I love that they have that little kitchen feature because I don't want trash. I don't want food in the photos, the getting ready photos. So that's just like a nice, thoughtful, added touch. So look at the bridal suite. Look at the groom's room. What are they offering? Mostly look at the bridal suite. See what kind of stuff is an asset of that bridal suite. It's not obviously the main, most important thing because no one else is really going to be seeing the bridal suite besides you and the bridesmaids and whatnot. But it is important that you feel comfortable in a place that you're getting ready for your big day. Next, how many people can it fit comfortably? Kind of going into your tour knowing how many people approximately you're going to be inviting, how many guests you're going to have is very important because you want to make sure that it's big enough or small enough in some cases. You don't want to be booking some gigantic venue that is just going to look so empty if you only have 50 people, you know? So knowing your guest count is going to be very helpful in sort of visualizing what the room can look like full of people. Is there enough space for everything you want to have? If you want to have a photo booth and a buffet table and a dessert table, you know, a gift table and a DJ and a bartender, and like you're having all these extra things around, is that going to make it too cramped? On top of your 75, 100 people, 150 people, whatever, like how cramped is this going to feel? It's not going to take away from how big of a dance floor you can have. That's important too. People want to have a good time. You want to have enough space for all that stuff. So when you're going on these tours and you're looking at these places, try to visualize in your head, where can these things go? How much space are they going to take up? And then how many people are going to be filling up this room? And is that going to be a little too much? You can also obviously ask whoever the tour guide is. They're going to have a lot more knowledge about the space. And you can say, hey, my wedding is going to have 100 people. Sort of, you can ask them if that's something that you're thinking about. Like, is this probably going to be too squished? Or is it going to be too big and just empty? They can obviously give you some guidance with their expertise. All right, let's talk about money saving stuff. So one of the things that I love about my venue is that it has a decor room, and a lot of venues do have decor rooms. They're not all made equal, however. So if they don't have one, that's sad, obviously, and something to think about. If it's kind of a bit of a more expensive venue, a good way to get some of the money out, like get your money's worth out of it, is by utilizing a decoration room that they have so you don't have to be buying a bunch of decorations. Obviously, you still have to buy some stuff, but I mean, for mine has a pretty solid decoration room, and that's going to be saving me a lot of money. You bet your bottom dollar I'm going to be using the heck out of their decor room. And that is going to be something that could be potentially helpful for you as well for saving money. So ask if they have a decor room. If they do, they will probably tell you without you asking. But if they haven't shown you one, ask. And if they do, ask to see it and take a video and pictures. Pictures are important too, not just a video. A video's nice, take pictures too. That way you can have just an image you can look at and see all of the different objects, zoom in, crop them if you want, smack them on a piece of paper to kind of organize things in your mind for how you want to put together a table. I would say this is probably the biggest cost-saving tip I can provide, and it saved me, well, my parents, because like I said, my parents were gracious enough to pay for my venue, but it saved them thousands of dollars. Actually, probably didn't, because I just wouldn't have picked the venue if it was going to be this expensive. So instead, it got me the venue that I wanted within my budget. Let's say it like that. Pick a day that's not Saturday. And Friday, too. I think Fridays and Saturdays are the most expensive days. And pick an off season. Now, listen, you don't have to do this. Obviously, get married when you want to. But if you want to save money, pick an off season, pick a Sunday. Or you can pick a weekday. Weekdays are hecka cheaper. I really didn't want to do a weekday. And Sunday was enough in my budget that, like, it was okay. It was still on the high end of my budget, but it was enough in it that I was okay with it. Weekdays are usually pretty discounted, and off seasons are discounted. Actually, let me pull it up. All right, I have a screenshot of this sucker, all right, of the breakdown of prices for the different venues. Let's just look at mine specifically that I picked. So peak season, the prices are more expensive now, but I got cheaper prices because the prices went up literally like a couple days after I booked with them. Peak season is May, September, October, November. For a Friday or Saturday, the most expensive days, it is $9,950. Versus I picked off season, which was January, February, March, or July, for a Sunday, which was $4,950. Meaning I saved $5,000 by picking a Sunday and an off season. That's more than the base price of the venue was itself. Obviously, there's like other random fees that like bumped it up. I think it ended up being like $5,200. So let's just enjoy off seasons and enjoy Sundays or weekdays that are cheaper. Who cares if you get married on a Sunday versus a Saturday? Probably not that many people. Maybe there's some logistic reasons for you, but like, honestly, if there's no reason for you to pick a Saturday over a Sunday, pick a Sunday. It's much cheaper. You're just saving money. It's great. Again, probably my biggest possible money saving tip for you there. Obviously, all of this is just a matter of like weighing pros and cons and what's more important to you. But what was more important to me was saving the $5,000. Oh, and another thing for what's included besides just the decor room, ask just in general what all is included. So decor room could be one thing, but also tables, chairs, linens. Linens are actually surprisingly kind of expensive. So if they include them, that is going to save you money. So ask about just what all is included in that price tag that you're paying for. That's not a small price tag. What can you get from this place within your venue price that could save you money in other areas of your budget? That's always nice to know about. Let's talk logistics. So one thing to think about is like, is this venue going to be easy or hard to find for your guests? If it's like, for me personally, I was looking at some venues up in the mountains and stuff. Like, is this venue going to be way up in the mountains? Where you have to go, like, friggin' Chattanooga, Tennessee. The whole place is a mountain. So, like, am I gonna have to go up one of these dang mountains? It's, like, vertical and then have to take super sharp turns, and if it's raining or something, or is it gonna, like, put people's lives in danger just to get to my venue? That's a legitimate concern and thought. I don't know where you live, but, like, that might be a thought for you, too. Also, just, again, like, is it easy enough to find? Is it relatively easy to type into a GPS and, like, on your phone and just get there without a whole lot of confusion? How far away is it from sort of maybe your, like, point of origin, whether it be your home or your parents' home or whatever? Like, for whatever reason that you're picking this place to get. It could be a destination wedding, in which case points mute. But, like, if you are getting married kind of close to home, is it like 2 hours away from home? Because that gets annoying real quick if you're having to factor in a 2-hour commute for your wedding morning. You know what I mean? Then you might have to think about like getting a hotel room closer. Is that going to even like, that's going to cost more to throw into your budget? Like, just logistically, it might work out and it might be good for you to do a farther away venue. But it also might be smart to just kind of try to stick it closer to home or wherever your point of base is, so that way you don't have to deal with the logistics of transportation and a place to sleep. Another logistic thing is the ceremony and reception going to be in the same general place or exact same place. For my venue, fingers crossed, it's going to be an outdoor wedding and it doesn't like rain or some crap. The reception will be inside, the ceremony will be outside, but it's literally right next to each other. So the ceremony space is just like out on a patio area right outside of the reception space. That's great. It's all super easy to get to. You don't have to worry about shuttling people from your ceremony to your reception. It just makes life easier. You can definitely do that. But again, it's just a logistics thing to think about. Some places just have those in different locations. All right, another big thing that I kind of alluded to just a minute ago is a logistics problem of, do they have a contingency plan for something going wrong? For me, mostly it's weather. Do they have a contingency plan for weather? And to be honest, my venue does not have the best plan. Basically, I'm getting married on a Sunday, but they told me the Monday, so like literally as far away as it possibly could be within the week. So 6 days prior, I have to tell them if I'm going to be having my wedding inside or out. And the reason that is like a little bit frustrating for me personally is just because Tennessee weather is unpredictable and the forecast could be very, very different from Monday to Sunday. So I'm not crazy about that part of my venue, not gonna lie. But I still liked it enough. It was still worth it to me to go forward with this because in my mind, I do have a solid contingency plan for doing an indoor wedding. I think the venue is pretty enough and big enough on the inside to comfortably do ceremony reception in there and still be perfectly happy with however it turns out. Obviously, I would like my ceremony outside if I can, but if it can't happen, I am happy with it being inside, and that is something that I think you have to think about as well. If you are trying to plan an outdoor ceremony, What can you do if it rains? What can you do if it's so windy that like everyone's getting blown over? You need to do it inside. If it's too cold, if it's too hot, if there's something wrong, what can you do inside to still have a wedding that you are happy with, a ceremony that you are happy with? For me, it was just picking a venue that I thought was gorgeous inside and out. I thought was big enough inside and out to fit everybody, that I just thought was going to be, regardless, it was going to be gorgeous. It was going to be a day that I will love and cherish forever. That was my thought process for my weather contingency plan inside my head. You have to think about the same thing when you were deciding about your venue. If you're planning for an indoor venue, this is, I guess, it doesn't matter. But if you're planning for an outdoor venue, think in your head, if something happens and I had to do this inside, would I love it or would I not? All right, my last sort of logistics point before we get on to the contract side of stuff, the parking situation. It's a pretty basic thing to think about, but is the parking okay? Ask about the parking, check out the parking. Will it be big enough to fit everybody? Is it conveniently located? Is it going to be a trek from the parking lot to the ceremony? Is it just dirt and going to be on a big mud pit if it rains? You know, just like random stuff to think about like that. Probably not going to be a make or break for you, I'm not going to lie, but it is something to think about. You know, like, it's something to factor in the pros and cons list. All right, let's talk about the contract. So this is kind of a money saving / contract thing. Do they have required vendors? There can be a difference between required and preferred, by the way. Like, preferred might be like they have a list of people that they like dealing with, but you don't have to pick from them. Required means that they give you a list of vendors that you have to pick from and you can't deviate from. That's not great. As far as like how it saves money, you can't decide. You can't pick a cheaper vendor. You just have to pick what they got. Or they have some like all-inclusive venues sometimes that they're like, oh yeah, we have a vendor, we have the bartender, we have everything on site. You don't even have to worry about it. That probably jacks up your price a lot. I'm not going to say it definitely does because I don't know. Mine doesn't have required vendors, so I don't know how much they would have been if I did that. But I do know that I'm pretty savvy when it comes to money, not to like pat myself on the back, but like I'm pretty good with money. I'm going to be able to find more affordable vendors than just a list that they're going to give me. So just a way to save money is you get to decide who your vendors are, not your venue. So that's just something to think about. Okay, other quick things to think about when looking at the contract. Do they ban stuff that is a really big deal to you? Like, do they ban fireworks? Do they ban sparklers? Do they ban open flame candles? A lot of places do that. Do they ban alcohol? Or if they do have, this is a big one with alcohol, a lot of the times they require you to pay an alcohol fee if you're going to have that. Do they require you to buy the insurance? Another thing they might ban, like mine does, is fake flower petals, like silk ones. They also probably are going to have a fee for if you do not clean up properly afterwards. So that's just like another thing to think about. Obviously, you should just clean up properly after your wedding. But if they have like certain strict rules about cleaning up afterwards, just make sure you're following those. Some places require you to hire a day of coordinator in order to make sure all that stuff goes smoothly. Some places don't, or some places like my venue require you to have a coordinator, person of contact, whatever for the day, but they don't have to be a hired professional. It could just be a friend or something that you put down a name of, but they require you to have a person. Gardens of the Gorge, the other venue I looked at, required you to have a professional coordinator. So. And then kind of lastly, I'm going to talk about my tour experience a little bit. So like I said, I went and toured venues like a year and 3 months before I even had my date. I had my idea in my mind of when I wanted it to be. I had my guest count in mind of when I wanted it to be. I had a list of questions ready, which I think is important. This video can hopefully be helpful for you on like creating a list of questions to ask. I knew that I wanted it to be outdoors if possible. I did look at a venue that was going to be a gorgeous indoor venue, but I ended up not going with that one. It's a chapel, but it was just going to be too small. The reception area was just too small. I absolutely enjoyed the tour so much, the touring process. It was super fun, and I would say just enjoy, like have fun. You're getting married, you're picking your date, you're picking your venue. It's super exciting. Visualize when you go on your tour, like things that you already know that you want. Like I knew I wanted what my color scheme was going to be. Like I said about my guest count, I knew I wanted to have alcohol. I knew I wanted to have a good party atmosphere. Like knowing all of that stuff really helped me decide on a venue and helped me visualize it while I was there. Take videos, take pictures of every venue that you look at. Ask questions. Bring people that you care about. I brought my fiance, also brought my mother. Think about the theme, the vibe you want your wedding to have, and if it's gonna match with the different venues. Just enjoy yourself. Look at everything you can. Like, look at the bridal suite, look at the groom's room, look at the kitchen, look at the reception area, the ceremony area, look at the decor room, look at the bathrooms, look at everything. Just look at it all. Get videos. Don't have to get videos of the bathroom, but get videos of everything important to you. Like I said, I toured as early as possible, so I kind of recommend that. But do whatever you want to. I just think earlier the better. Also, another thing I would say is if they have it, I would ask them for images of what your venue looks like during the time of year that you will be getting married in, if it's going to be outdoors especially. And especially if you were touring in a time that's not going to be when you get married. Like I was touring in December and I was getting married in March. It looks different out there and from December to March. And also just don't feel pressured to book right away. We did not book the first time we went out looking at the venue, even though I was really into a couple of them. We didn't book. I'm like a person that I don't like to pick things straight away because like you have a lot of emotions and like excitement when you're looking at your wedding venue or your wedding dress or whatever it is that you're picking. But I like to look at it, have that day, take pictures, take videos, then step back, leave, don't buy anything or sign any contracts, go home, look at the videos, look at the pictures, talk it over with people who I can talk about it with, who are going to have like a lot of, I think, solid opinions on it. People who I know are going to give me solid advice and have my best interest at heart. Talk about everything with them. Make my decision that way instead of getting caught up in the moment and just being like, yes, I want this one, and then book it right away. I like to personally step away and revisit later. We went back and booked a couple days later. And the second time we went to book, they all actually offered free draping. So I don't know if that was because they weren't sure if we were going to book and they were trying to hook us with the free drapes. I don't know what the reason was exactly, but that would not probably have been offered if we would have signed the very first day. So also the draping was going to be $1,000. Just saying, if you like live in Chattanooga, Tennessee and you are looking at this venue, they freaking charge $1,000 for the drapes. Ridiculous, but they offered it for free if we signed that day, which I think kind of just proves that it does not cost $1,000 to hang those drapes, but whatever. But just enjoy it. Congratulations, you are married. You are picking a venue. This is exciting. It's great. It's lovely. Anyway, guys, that's it for my tips. This video is a million years long, I'm sure, but I just had like a lot to say, and I hope this was helpful. I would like to make other videos talking about other parts of wedding planning because I actually really enjoy wedding planning, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, so I kind of want to talk about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you want to subscribe to me, feel free to do so. If you don't want to, don't. If you want to give this video a thumbs up, great. If you don't want to, great. Anyway, hope you have a great rest of your day.